Thank you. Music has the ability to get your attention, just to take all of your attention. And so you're not thinking about other things. So you actually reach that place where you're kind of in the silence. And if you would, for just a moment, just close your eyes and just remember the music. Just remember the low notes and the high notes. All your attention on that feeling in your bodies, currently of feeling that music. And just take a breath, a nice breath in the silence, and let your body relax. And just feel yourself, every muscle relaxing. And then gently release that and bring your consciousness back into the chapel. Alrighty, the sermon today, the mind, the heart, the emotions. We usually equate the mind with our rational thoughts and our heart with our emotions. Finding that balance between the mind and the heart that results in tranquility is a lifelong journey. We are presented continuously with new situations that affect both our minds and our hearts. From personal issues to societal issues, we try to balance our emotional and intellectual feelings and thoughts. Sweeping societal issues like drastic reorganization of our government, climate change, and healthcare tug at our logic and also our personal feelings about these situations. Our emotions in times like these can easily run the gamut, from despair to optimism, from fear to confidence, from love to hate. Our thoughts can quickly go from believing Armageddon is just around the corner to the feeling this too will pass and everything will soon be under control. With COVID 5 years ago, we experienced separation from friends, family members, and work colleagues. There are many uncertainties today. We don't know how this or that is going to play out. We don't know the rules of the new normal. Rules give us a framework for thinking about our activities. When we know the rules of a game, we are usually pretty good at playing. We're pretty good at understanding the next logical move. The pandemic created new rules that modified the way most of us lived. The new administration in Washington is changing many aspects of people's lives. Some are immediate changes, and many of them will have long-term effects that no one can accurately gauge at this time. The rules continue to change. When we analyze all the pros and cons of any situation, many times we find ourselves in a gray area. I love my family and friends, but I can't agree with them on climate, on vaccinations, on politics. How can our opinions be so different from those in our families, friends, and coworkers on so many important issues? The principle of polarity from the Kabbalion can help us in our efforts to understand this dilemma. It states, everything is dual. Everything has poles. Everything has its pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature but different in degree. Extremes meet. All truths are but half-truths. All paradoxes may be reconciled. The Kabbalion. All truths are half-truths. The paradox of duality. Everything has its opposites. Them versus us. Love versus fear. We know how quickly we can go from feeling love for someone to being mad at them. It's the same energy, it's just on a different place to the scale. We can have a great day at work and then get an email that takes our state of mind from contentment to any number of emotions. Keeping our own peace of mind when our ideas are diametrically opposed to important people in our lives can be difficult. Currently, we have a whole new set of rules being randomly made up. It is like when you are playing a card game in the middle of a game. We've all been there. You're playing a card game and all of a sudden someone says, no, the 7 of diamonds is always wild. You didn't even know it. You're playing any kind of game. We know people playing hide and seek. No, you can leave the yard once every 5 games. Well, that's what's happening now. The rules are changing. We're really not sure what the rules are. We're all working on how to respond to these new rules, how we feel about them, and how others view them. Aristotle addresses a logic that can be applied to any emotion or situation. Using the example of anger, he says, anyone can become angry. That is easy. But to be angry with the right person, to the right degree, at the right time, for the right purpose, and in the right way, this is not easy. In your life, in your situations today, what is the right amount of anger? The right amount of trust? The right amount of action? The right amount of love? The right amount of acceptance? Each of these things we need to go through. Explore yourself, know yourself, that you're making good decisions. In determining a course of action, our rational mind usually uses logic, which is good. You see something, you know the rules, you figure it out. When our emotions are triggered, the rational thoughts and rules go right out the window. Paul Eckerman, University of California. The emotional reaction is far quicker than the rational mind. It can spring into action without pausing even a moment to consider what it's doing. Its quickness precludes the deliberate analytical reflection that is the hallmark of the thinking mind. In evolution, this quickness most likely revolved around that most basic decision, what to pay attention to. And if confronting another animal, making split-second decisions like, do I eat this or does it eat me? Real quick, you're just going to make a decision. Those people that hesitated were probably thinned out of the population. The successful hunter-gatherers were those with the quick emotional responses, our ancestors. They were fast to do it. They didn't think about it. Our emotions can quickly override our rational thoughts and our heartfelt good intentions. Most of our emotional responses are subconscious. Our emotions have been forming and evolving since the day we were born, since the day our ancestors were born. The balance between the mind and the heart, between rational thought and emotional responses, is complicated because of the subconscious nature of many of our emotions, and especially the speed at which our emotions can show themselves. Actions that spring from the emotions carry a strong sense of certainty. After the fact, we might think, why did I do that? But emotionally, you just know you're right when you react emotionally. We see Good Samaritans instantly running into burning buildings to help strangers. Paul Ekman studied the facial expressions of people around the world from all cultures. People everywhere use the same facial expressions for fear, anger, sadness, and enjoyment. He found that he could track emotions in facial expressions within a few thousandths of a second. Literally, within thousandths of a second, he knew what the person was going to do emotionally after the event that triggered it. The physiological changes typical of a given emotion, like slowing blood flow and increasing heart rate, also take only fractions of a second. The swiftness is especially true of intense emotions, like fear or a sudden threat. Because it takes the rational mind a moment or two longer to register and respond, many times our first response is emotional, triggering a habitual response and not responding from our logical thinking. Years ago, there's a real popular book, Emotional Intelligence, Why It Can Matter More Than IQ, by Daniel Goleman. Quoting and paraphrasing from the book, there are hundreds of emotions along with their blends and variations. There are many more subtleties of emotions than we have words for. Researchers argue over which emotions can be considered the primary emotions, from which all blends of emotions come from, or even if there are such primary emotions at all. But some theorists propose basic families of emotions. The main candidates for the primary emotions are anger, sadness, fear, enjoyment, love, surprise, disgust, and shame. There's so many combinations of these emotions that you couldn't possibly list them all. For example, what about blends such as jealousy, a variant of anger that also melds sadness and fear? Or virtue, it could be a blend of hope, faith, courage, forgiveness, and certainty. A premise I'm using today is that much of our lives are lived within the parameters of ours and other people's emotions. Psychologists can't agree on how to classify or categorize emotions, much less understand them. We have all been in situations when emotions can change instantaneously. People can react without thinking in ways that are not productive and at times destructive or hurtful. In a relationships, feelings of love and hate can switch back and forth very quickly. We've all been there when things are great and then someone says something that doesn't go well. A quote from Stendhal, "Love is like a fever that comes and goes independently of the will." This also applies to our angers and fears. Sometimes they seem to happen to us rather than be our choices. For that reason, people can offer an excuse. They can explain their actions by saying they cannot choose their emotions. It's like, I'm a Libra, I'm a lion in my astrology sign. I can't choose how I react. This is the crux of the issue. Can people, in fact, choose their emotions? Can people learn to control their emotions and behaviors? Can emotionally charged responses be permanently changed? One rule we hear, metaphysicians state, is everything begins with a thought. I'm proposing in many situations the words and the actions begin with an emotion. We like to say metaphysics is all about science. We try not to say anything that we don't think we can prove. And here, the man measuring how fast people are responding emotionally, it's science. He can show scientifically that our emotions are quicker than our logical thinking. So I would say this is metaphysics. It's just another level. Many of our actions begin with an emotion. The emotional mind takes its beliefs to be absolutely true and discounts any evidence to the contrary. That is why it's so difficult to reason with someone who is emotionally upset, no matter the soundness of your arguments. From a logical point of view, it carries no weight if it is out of keeping with your emotional conviction. If someone has another argument, but you're emotionally convicted of something, it's very hard to change your mind. Feelings are self-justifying. In the heat of the moment, it's hard to realize that we're being driven by emotion. In emotionally charged situations, individuals are much more unlikely to accept any view or different information from their position. The logical and emotional aspects of our being are in this constant dance. And in addition, we currently have the rules of the game changing almost daily. So not only are we dealing with our old emotions and experiences, we have new ones coming every day. We're forced to learn new logical thinking and figure out how we feel about them emotionally. How can we approach our decisions with our own best interests from both aspects, logically and emotionally? I'm going to propose an action plan. Okay, one is you need to identify your priorities. What are your priorities in life? Make a list of your priorities in order. I've said this before. I took a class many years ago, and it was a whole weekend plus 2 other weekends you did on your own of different exercises to find out what was important to you. And at the end of these classes, I literally had a list of 10 things in order of my priorities, and it was just eye-opening. Because I could say at that day, on that time, those were my priorities. And they weren't what a lot of people wanted. But it made it very easy for me. The second thing, you've listed your priorities. Use your list of priorities when making decisions. Be aware of when your conscious decisions are not in line with your priorities. It made it a lot easier when I'm looking, oh, wait a minute, what are my priorities? It made it much easier to make a decision, even if it was a hard decision. You're living in line with your values. 3, learn to slow down. Learn to slow down so you can witness your own thoughts and emotions. This allows you to be aware when your habitual actions are not in compliance with your priorities. Use meditation, contemplation, and journaling to quiet your mind and witness your thoughts, emotions, and actions. We know that if you practice contemplation, meditation enough, you can slow down enough that you almost feel what's happening in your body before it comes out of your mouth. And when you feel that, you can just have that second or two to slow down, witness what's happening, and not just react emotionally. It just takes a practice, a consistent practice of finding that quiet place inside so that you know where it is. Number 4, monitor, review your past decisions. Note if your decisions and actions have been in line with your priorities. I made a printout of this, the action plan. They're on the narthex out there. Please take one when you go. And blessings, I hope you find it useful. Discover which decisions, as you're doing this, discover which decisions allow you to live your life in harmony with both your spiritual and physical priorities. In your priorities, you'll have physical things you need. You need to have a house. You need to have a car running. You need to pay for a kid's college. But you also need your own inner peace. You need your loved ones to have a good relationship with them. But when you do all this, when you list out all these priorities, then you'll find out what is most important to you. And then when you're looking at your decisions, is it keeping me in line? What is the secret to being able to have control over your emotions when we know that many times they are quicker than our rational mind? You know how it is, even if you get scared. You may be sitting at the teller at the bank and they haven't come for 10 minutes. So you're doing something and all of a sudden they say hello and you can just jump out of the car almost. You're really quick with your emotions. I was watching American Idol a few years ago. A contestant was so nervous before every audition that his nervousness was affecting his performance. A judge pulled him aside and told him Your nerves are part of who you are. If you keep trying to push them away, they will get worse. When you are going on stage, tell them to hop in your backpack and bring them on stage with you. This is knowing yourself. In these meditations, in these contemplations, everything that happened to us, they're part of us. They're part of our character. The things that were hard, we can't push them away. If we do, we're giving them more energy. What we do is we accept them. We accept them. When we quiet ourselves, we will know when those are coming up. The more we accept them, the more I know that I get really nervous before I come up here and talk. The more I know it, it's like, oh, that's normal. And use it to give you energy versus shutting yourself down. But whatever it is, if you know on Thanksgiving that your family's going to have this argument and you know what buttons it's going to push, know that's what you do. So you make your decision, and when that comes up, you've already decided how you're going to react. But these are you knowing what your emotional responses are, what your logic are, what your priorities are, and learning to live in harmony with your priorities. Know yourself. Know and accept those parts of you, those emotions that make you who you are, so they do not surprise you. Accept them without letting them control you. This is where your spiritual work begins. Knowing yourself, accept yourself just as you are, respect and love yourself for who you are and what you may become. Consider the advice from Thomas Jefferson. When all else fails, if you are mad, count to 10 before you talk. If you're still mad, count to 100. Just kind of like rule 1. If I'm mad, let me try not to say anything. And usually, if you're slowing down and meditating, you feel the anger coming up in your body before it comes out of your mouth. It gives you about half a second or a second. And if you can learn to do it, you can just take that breath, count to 10, and use your logical thinking how you want to respond. We could distill this sermon down into a few words, the serenity prayer. Kind of close your mind, close your eyes for a second and just listen to the words. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. The things I cannot change. That's one thing you have to work through in every aspect of your life. The things I can. And the wisdom to know the difference. And accept. Gently bring yourself back. Use these trying times. We're in trying times right now. Use them to witness your own thoughts and emotions. We have all kinds of new ones. And as an adult, with many years of experience under our belt, use all that experience to look at what's happening now and decide how you feel. Your logical decisions and also your emotional. Find the divine balance between your inner peace and what is happening around you. Blessings. All right, we're going to go ahead and move right into our meditation. So if you'd set aside your bulletins, your hymnals, and just get comfortable. If you'd close your eyes and just take a few deep breaths. Just feel the oxygen filling your whole body. It just fills your head, your torso, your arms, your legs. And when you exhale, every muscle relaxes. Take another nice deep breath. And you feel every muscle in your body relaxing. Breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. And now just place all your attention on your head. And as you inhale, visualize all the oxygen going into your head. And as you exhale, you feel your forehead relax, your eyes, your cheeks, your lips, your jaw. And again, breathing into your head all your consciousness. And as you exhale, you feel every muscle in your face relaxing, your scalp. And now place all your attention on your shoulders, arms, and hands. All your consciousness. And breathe in to your shoulders, arms, and hands. And as you slowly exhale, feel every muscle relaxing. And again, breathing into your shoulders, arms, and hands. And relaxing. And now your attention's on your torso. Just breathe into your torso. And feel your chest relaxing, your stomach, your back, just melting into the seat. And again, breathing into your torso and relaxing. And now all your attention is on your hips, your legs, and your feet. And breathe into your hips, your legs, and your feet. And relax. And again, into your hips, your legs, and your feet. And relax. And now breathe into your entire being. Your entire being. And as you exhale, feel everything relaxing. Pay attention to your breath, breathing in slowly and exhaling slowly. Keep all your consciousness on your breath. When thoughts come to you, gently acknowledge them and then return all your attention to your breath. The practice is to keep your attention on your breath. The effort needed to redirect your attention is training you to be aware when random, unproductive thoughts or emotions arrive. It's part of the training. When a thought comes, when a vision comes, you acknowledge it and then return all your thoughts back to your breath, breathing in and breathing out. Take a nice long breath in. And gently exhaling. Just continue breathing like this. All your attention on your breath. And with your eyes remaining closed, gently release this exercise and just take a few normal breaths with no cares or concerns.